Good evening and welcome to 207. I'm Rob Caldwell.
And I'm Kathleen Shannon. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we celebrate our 5th anniversary. That's right, 207 has been on the air now for 5 years. Even we're a little surprised. And in this special edition, we're going to look back at what has been one incredible ride.
We'll revisit some of our favorite stories, chat with some of our favorite people, and bring you some of our favorite crazy moments here on the show. From weird to thought-provoking to simply beautiful, 207 has touched on it all in the past 5 years.
But if there is one story that stood out in this past year, it certainly was the 2008 presidential election. People were captivated by the headlines, the players, and of course, the last act. Now, we confess, we're all political junkies here on 207, all of us. And in the past 5 years, we've talked to almost every major candidate that has quite literally come down, or we should say up, the pike.
This year, though, was exceptional. Things got rolling in February when executive producer Becky Smith, photojournalist Charlie Berg, and I, acting on a tip from our assignment editor, Ted Veripatis, staked out Becky's Diner in Portland in hopes of catching up with former President Bill Clinton. We shot that one-on-one interview at 6:55 p.m. and had it on 207 20 minutes later. Do you have any regrets about the way you have conducted yourself on the campaign trail in the past months?
Well, first of all,
any regrets about anything you've said or done?
Well, everything I have said has been factually accurate, but I think the mistake that I made is to think that I was a spouse like any other spouse who could defend his candidate. I think I can promote Hillary but not defend her because I was president. I have to let her defend herself or have someone else defend her.
Now, most days the story would have been on the air and that would have been the end of it. Not this time. At 7:01 the next morning, my phone rang. It was Becky Smith telling me to turn on my television to the Today Show right away. I did and saw this.
Now to the race for the White House. Former President Bill Clinton caught a lot of heat for his forceful advocacy of his wife on the campaign trail and his perceived attacks on Barack Obama. In an NBC News exclusive, Rob Caldwell from our Portland, Maine affiliate WCSH tracked the former president down at a diner, and he asked President Clinton whether he's had any regrets about what he said or done.
Everything I have said has been factually accurate, but I think the mistake that I made is to think that I was a spouse like any other spouse who could defend his candidate.
But even that wasn't the end of the story. The interview then aired on various cable news channels, and that afternoon, Contessa Brewer from MSNBC called asking for an interview with Rob. Turns out she had a little surprise for him.
I hope that it won't embarrass you if I say this, but you know, when I was in junior high and high school, I used to watch you on TV there in Portland, Maine. You're my hero.
Well, if you were trying not to embarrass me, you just failed. So the story comes around to a news anchor who grew up in Parsonsfield interviewing me about an interview with a former president that was shot right down the street at Becky's Diner. As Tip O'Neill used to say, all politics is local.
And we followed the Clinton interview with what would turn out to be a conversation with the next president of the United States, although we and he didn't know it at the time. In March, Rob, Becky, and 207 photographer Dennis Doyle traveled to Bangor, where Senator Barack Obama was holding a rally. The auditorium was full, the crowd enthusiastic, the candidate focused.
What I know is that the American people really are desperately ready for something different. You know, the kinds of economic woes that you're hearing as you travel across the country, people worrying about losing their homes, not being able to afford health care, don't know how they're going to save or provide college education for their kids. Those are the things that motivate me on a day-to-day basis, and I think that what we have to do is bring the country together and really go after those special interests that have been blocking the kinds of reforms that are needed.
Now, back then, Obama was in a tight race with Senator Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination. That winter, just weeks before he was diagnosed with a brain tumor, Senator Ted Kennedy came to Maine to campaign on behalf of Obama. We sent our Irish-American anchor to talk with the Irish-American senator.
Hopefully we're going to go sort of beyond identity politics. I mean, both that applies to Senator Clinton and Senator Obama. It applied to President Kennedy as a Catholic as well. And I think the country is a stronger nation when we go sort of past the identity politics and give focus and attention as to what that person represents and what kind of leadership are they going to provide for their country. And I think this is something which is important. I think Barack Obama has those unique kind of qualities to be able to provide special leadership, and I think the country needs it at this time.
Now, what I remember most about that interview is how sure Ted Kennedy was that the country was ready for change, and how excited my mother was that I was talking to the venerable Irish senator. She loves him. As we mentioned at the start, we all love politics here on 207, and our passion has no prejudice. We go after every candidate who visits Maine, no matter their party affiliation. If you don't see your favorite candidate on the show, it's not because we didn't ask, it's because they turned us down.
Sarah Palin, for instance, we asked repeatedly to talk with the Republican vice presidential nominee, but her campaign wanted to choose who would conduct that interview, a condition we could not accept. However, Senator John McCain did talk with us by satellite, and the resulting interview once again captured national attention. Well, you say you're sure she has the experience, but again, I'm just asking for an example.
Sure.
What experience does she have in the field of national security?
Energy. She knows more about energy than probably anyone else in the United States of America.
Now, the McCain interview aired, among other places, on MSNBC, PBS, and on NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams. Even so, we were not prepared for the hundreds of emails that flooded our inbox from all over the world and ended up generating more than 1 million hits on our website.
We talked with Senator Obama one more time in New Hampshire just before Election Day. Rob pressed him on how, given the economic crisis the country is facing, he planned to pay for the programs he was proposing.
Realistically, as you look at those numbers, aren't you going to have to scale back some of your proposals? And wouldn't it be better to level with the voters about that before the election rather than after?
Well, the estimates I've seen are less than $1 trillion. I mean, there may be some economists who say that. There's no doubt that we are in a hole. We're already at $500 billion under the Bush budget, even before this economic crisis. So we're going to have to tighten our belts and eliminate programs that don't work, and that's what I intend to do, line by line, when I get into the Oval Office.
But when you look at the overall picture, it is getting worse, significantly worse than it was just a month ago.
Absolutely.
Doesn't that make you think that you need to revise your spending plans?
Yeah, asked and answered.
On Tuesday, November 4th, history was made when Barack Obama was elected as the first African-American president of the United States. 207 was the only television program in Maine to have talked personally with the president-elect between the primary and Election Day. All in all, it was a pretty good year.
And I know you won't say this, and in fact all the national attention, all the local attention kind of embarrasses you, but it was particularly a banner year for you, and I think it's so well deserved. I don't know if everyone out there realizes how hard you work, and I think on behalf of everybody in the newsroom, but particularly me, we've been so proud to be along with the ride for you. It's been such a good year.
She's too nice, too kind, but you knew that.
And he's a good interviewer and an excellent journalist. And if you'd like to see any of those interviews in their entirety again, we have reposted them in the 207 section of our websites.
Our 5th anniversary show continues in a moment as we go through the lens of 207 photojournalist Dennis Doyle to show you some of the best of 207.
But first, a little music from the Doobie Brothers' Michael McDonald, who appeared on 207 last February.
That's all I've ever been. You don't know me.
Welcome back to our special 5th anniversary edition of 207. For the first 4 years that 207 was on the air, we were on Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. But last year we added a weekend edition of 207, and with it, a new member to our staff.
If you thought 207 was pretty good for the first 4 years, it got a lot better thanks to 207 photojournalist Dennis Doyle. Having a photographer that's dedicated to the show allows us to travel farther around the state and bring a fresh outlook to our stories. Here, Through the Lens, is the work of the very talented Dennis Doyle.
Maine has just really stunning lighthouses. Their location, the Rocky Coast. I love going to Pimlico Point with a thermos of coffee, and just, last year I went right after a snowstorm, and it was a sunrise, and it was beautiful. It was like virgin snow, and it was just perfect. The sun was rising, and it was freezing cold, but it was, there's this feeling you get.
What better spot could you have to work and be sitting than, you know, than right here, you know? You know. Oh, I love it, yeah. It's, you know, it's laid back. You just look to see if anything's coming down the road. Push the button in. We'll be in business. I mean, I was born and brought up here, and I used to, when I was 10 years old, I used to open the gates and grease the thing for the guys, you know, so it's not, you know, no, I never thought that you know, I'd be operating the bridge later on in life, you know, but hey, you know, here it is.
The amazing spirit of this orchestra is something that I find refreshing. Whenever I walk in the door for rehearsal, is this buzz and energy and eagerness to get into the work and dig in to these amazing works of art.
To me, a successful sculpture combines the form of the object, form of the physical object, married with the form of the movement, and together, if they work together, it's a good thing. It's a truth almost. It seems like it always was there. I think you need to watch something like this over a period of time. It's not just one moment where you can really see the sculpture. The different times of day, you know, the snow transforms it, and even when they're still, they're moving.
And those are just some of the stories, just the tip of the iceberg that Dennis Doyle has shot for us. The truth is, it takes a lot of work to bring you a week's worth of 207 shows, and we couldn't do it without our team of producers, our directors, in fact, pretty much the entire station. Yep. Brett Whitmarsh, though, we just want to single out some people. Brett Whitmarsh is one of our producers. He's been with the show since it began, and Helen Daly joined us a little over a year ago, coming over from the dark side. Literally, she used to produce the morning report.
Those two talented producers, along with our executive producer, Becky Smith, form a team that is unstoppable. From chasing down interviews, to writing, to editing, to updating the website for you. They take a blank page every Monday morning and they create the shows that you see 6 nights a week, 52 weeks a year. We're not bragging. We just want to take a moment to recognize their efforts and the efforts of our directors as well. Michael Gagnon, Jeff Howard. If the show looks good, those are the people who get it done.
And Matt, who runs camera,
that's right.
the whole
in
team.
And out, audio, a lot of people who contribute.
And we'll stop after this. And Pat and Cindy, they've done so much to help us from filling in when one of us is out to producing packages, so we could go on and on. But.
Indeed. When we come back, we're going to show you the joys of live TV and how sometimes when it doesn't work, it's a lot better than when it does.
And as we take a break, enjoy the music of rocker Grace Potter, who joined us on 207 in July this year.
Look at the life that you've been missing. Look at the girl you could be kissing. Look at what happened in the meantime.
Of course, this show wouldn't be what it is if we didn't get serious about the unserious on a regular basis. The thing we like best about 207 is that as the very wise Forrest Gump used to say, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
And that doesn't just apply to you as viewers. Sometimes even we are surprised by our guests.
But if I do die, I'll try to do it during sweeps on your show.
If you're going to die, do it in the next 5 minutes during this interview. That would be better for us.
Well, I must say, you are the first person to wish that I would die in the next 5 minutes.
We're back, and Bob has found a new hat.
I'm now a paper boy from Gorham. Happy the morning to you, Cindy.
That's an interesting question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. Here's a guy that's asked me the question I've never been asked before. Boom! I mean, that's never happened before because it's the first time.
Daddy!
Thank God I look pretty tonight.
As always from the restaurant, is that all you really want to know?
To explore the shores above.
What do you like about pigs?
They're just really fun to have, and they're always a challenge.
Sophisticated.
Back in the day, the trick was not to get hit by the ball. Tonight, however, the trick was stop looking at the camera and get the ball.
This is from your homeland of?
Well, my homeland is Kansas. I was born in Kansas.
Well, that's not quite what I was looking for.
My power tool.
Awesome!
Well, that was a good start.
Okay.
You can see what school of cooking I flunked out of.
Freiburg, Maine. And it was the first time in my life I ever saw fried bread at the fair.
Fried dough.
I love it.
How about lunch?
Name the place, name the time. I'll show you how to crack open the lobster.
Well, you just sit here and wait for that call.
Hey, you want to reach for the heavens? Then watch a show called 207.
Oh my.
I think my favorite is still Richard Simmons.
I think that's our favorite too, collectively. And the pig. You with the pig. That was pretty funny.
Good stuff there. You know, there are days when, don't tell anyone, but we do the job for free. Well, still ahead here on 207. We're going to be back with an update on one of our big stories from the past 5 years, Kathy's twins.
And as we head into the break, here's some music from Neil Sedaka as he serenades 207 producer Brett Whitmarsh in Ogunquit last summer.
We were making up again. I beg of you, don't say goodbye. Can't we give our love another try? Come on, baby, let's start anew.
In just a couple of months, we'll be celebrating another milestone here on 207, the birthdays of Tristan and Declan, Kathy's twins.
It's hard to believe, but in February, the boys will turn 2. The Terrible Twos, I think they've started early. A lot of you have emailed us over the past year asking for an update on the twins. Happy to report they're healthy, they're happy, they're growing like weeds. Well, take a look for yourself. We're going to share some photos here. And this is them in their Halloween outfits on Halloween night. Yes, I made them at home. And oh, there's Tristan.
Scholarly.
I think he's donning someone's glass. There's Tristan, the intense one. He's on a jungle gym. And there's Decky going down the slide. Oh, there. Oh, yeah. He picked that pumpkin out himself.
That's a cute one.
And there's Tristan and I out in leaves. That says it all. Decky in the leaves.
So unhappy. Our thanks to your husband for those photos, and thanks to all of you for watching us for the past 5 years, making 207 so successful. We're going to see you again tomorrow night, kicking off our 6th season with an interview with the remarkable Maine artist, Dalav Ipkar.
Until then, Rob and I and the boys and the entire crew say thank you for watching for 5 years, and we hope to see you right back here tomorrow night.